Hey, plant lovers! You ever buy a houseplant, super excited, only for it to, well, just not make it? Yeah, we've all been there. Some plants just demand way too much attention, but today, I've got something better for you. Houseplants that can actually go the distance. These green beauties, they're not just low maintenance, they're practically immortal. We're talking years, sometimes even decades, of fresh air, good vibes, and zero stress. So, whether you're a total newbie or just want plants that last, stick around. We're diving into the longest-lived houseplants for your indoor garden. Let's get into it. All right, first up, the spider plant. This one's been a household favorite for generations, and for good reason. It's tough, looks amazing, and honestly, it's nearly impossible to kill. Like, you'd have to try. And get this, spider plants don't just survive, they multiply. These little guys, baby plants, or spiderettes. Just snip them, pop them in water, and boom, you've got a whole new plant for free. With the right care, meaning minimal effort, spider plants can live for decades. I'm talking 20, 30 years or more. So if you want a plant that keeps going and gives you free plants along the way, this one's a no-brainer. Next up, the Monstera, also known as the Swiss cheese plant. And let me tell you, if you want a plant that makes a statement and sticks around for decades, this one's a winner. Monsteras don't just grow, they evolve. These leaves start off solid, then develop these beautiful splits as they mature. And like the spider plant, you can propagate them super easily. Just snip a stem, stick it in water, and wait for roots. Free plants, people. If you take care of a Monstera, meaning bright, indirect light and the occasional watering, this thing can outlive you. No joke, some Monsteras have been thriving for 50 years or more, so if you want a plant that just gets better with time, this one's a must-have. All right, let's talk about the toughest houseplant on the list, the snake plant. If you've got a black thumb, this one's for you. It thrives on neglect. Forget to water it? No problem. Low light? Still fine. Basically, you cannot mess this up. And these thick leaves? They store water, which means you barely have to water it, maybe once every couple of weeks. Plus, it's one of the best air-purifying plants, so you're getting cleaner air with zero effort. If you treat a snake plant right, meaning you ignore it most of the time, it can live for decades. I've seen some pushing 50 years. So, if you want a plant that looks good, purifies your air, and literally thrives on neglect, the snake plant is your best bet. All right, next up, the Chinese evergreen. This one is perfect if you want a plant that looks fancy but requires almost no effort. Seriously, it can handle low light, doesn't need constant watering, and just keeps going. One of the best things? The colors. You've got green, silver, even pink varieties. And when it comes to care, just water it when the soil feels dry. It's that easy. This plant is basically built for people who forget they own plants. With the right care, and by care, I mean barely anything, a Chinese evergreen can live for 20 years or more. It's one of the longest-lived and easiest houseplants out there. So, if you want something low maintenance but gorgeous, this one's a must-have. This little guy? The Chinese money plant. It's got these cool, coin-shaped leaves, hence the name, and is said to bring good luck and prosperity. But what's really great? It's not just lucky, it's long-lived. And just like the spider plant, this one makes more of itself. These little pups pop up around the base, so you can keep growing new plants or share them with friends. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. With just some bright, indirect light and the occasional watering, a Chinese money plant can easily live for 20 years, or more. So, if you want a plant that's easy, looks unique, and even multiplies, this one's a total win. Now, if you want a houseplant that actually flowers and sticks around for decades, meet the Anthurium. These glossy, heart-shaped blooms aren't just pretty, they last months at a time. And the plant itself? It can live for years with the right care. Anthuriums love a little extra humidity, so a quick mist every now and then keeps them happy. And the best part? Unlike most flowering plants that bloom once and quit, this one keeps going. It can bloom year-round if it's happy. Give it bright, indirect light and water it when the soil feels dry. And an Anthurium can live for decades. Seriously, some people have passed these down like family heirlooms. So, if you want a plant that's elegant, low maintenance, and long-lived, this one's a keeper. Alright, if you want a plant that's practically unkillable and can live for decades, the Pothos is your best bet. This thing grows like crazy, works in almost any lighting, and doesn't throw a fit if you forget to water it. One of the best things about Pothos, you can turn one plant into dozens. Just snip a vine, stick it in water, and boom, free plants. Perfect for filling up your space or sharing with friends. With minimal care, like occasional watering and some light, a Pothos can live for decades. I've seen some that are over 50 years old. If you want an easy, fast-growing, and long-lived houseplant, Pothos is the way to go. Alright, if you're looking for a houseplant that's elegant, long-lived, and actually helps clean your air, the peace lily is a top pick. It's been around in homes for decades, and for good reason. It's super easy to take care of. One cool thing, it tells you when it's thirsty. See it drooping like this? Give it some water, and within hours, it bounces right back. Plus, these white flowers, they bloom for months at a time. With the right care, meaning low light, occasional watering, and a little love, a peace lily can live for decades. If you want a plant that's beautiful, low maintenance, and long-lasting, this one's a winner. Now, if you want a plant that gives off instant tropical vibes and can stick around for generations, check out the Parlor Palm. This beauty has been a houseplant favorite since the Victorian era, and yeah, it can easily live for decades. It's one of the easiest palms to grow indoors. Low light? No problem. Forget to water it for a week? Still fine. Just keep it out of direct sun, and it'll thrive without a fuss. Give it some occasional water and a little patience, and this thing can last 30 years or more. If you want a plant that's classy, low maintenance, and built to last, the Parlor Palm is the one. Next up, we've got the Philodendron. This plant is one of the easiest to care for and can live decades with just a little attention. It's also pretty tough. Low light? No problem. Forgot to water? It'll forgive you. One of the coolest things about philodendrons? You can grow them as vining plants, like this one, or keep them more compact as bushes. And every time you trim them, they just keep growing. You can propagate cuttings in water and get new plants in no time. With just a little light, occasional watering, and some love, a philodendron can easily live for 20+ years. If you want a long-lasting, easy-care plant that looks great in any room, this is your perfect match. Alright, if you're into elegance, long-lasting blooms, and easy care, let me introduce you to the Moth Orchid. These beauties can bloom for months at a time, and, with the right care, they can thrive in your home for years. Moth orchids need a little extra love, like some humidity and indirect light. But they're actually pretty forgiving. And when those blooms finally do drop, just trim them back, and you'll often get a second round of flowers later in the year. Give them some light, water when the soil feels dry, and a little patience. And these plants can live for decades. So if you want an easy, elegant, and long-lived bloom for your space, a moth orchid is a must-have. So there you have it. 11 of the longest-lived houseplants to add to your indoor garden. Whether you're looking for something easy, elegant, or just a plant that can stick around for years, these beauties are all winners. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss more plant tips. Happy gardening, and I'll catch you in the next one.